One big thing that we're excited about that we kind of modeled a little bit last year with our curriculum buy in social studies was getting away from traditional textbooks. I was not here our last curriculum buy in social studies, but I did get to see some of the figures, and we spent approximately $80,000 to $90,000 on textbooks. Our previous curriculum buy, which is 11 years ago now, I think, and by the time we were up for another curriculum buy last year, we were down to maybe 75–80% of a classroom set. So we originally purchased enough books for everyone to take one and take them home and use them how they should. Just with wear and tear in books and being lost and destroyed, we were down to very low numbers. So we, was it last January? I think it was last January. A new program came out for creating your own textbooks. And given the iPad program we had going, you can create textbooks specifically for the iPads. So we as a social studies department, instead of spending $96,000 on textbooks, our last curriculum by last year, spent about $16,000 on just writing time. For the people in our department, we created our own iBooks. We now have a standardized curriculum and book that every 9th grade history teacher uses, every 10th grade history teacher uses. I have 4 econ books that I use, and Lyle has all of his psychology books as well. So these are books that we can make infinite copies of. The students can have their own, obviously on their iPad. They can highlight anything that they want. Actual activities are saved in here, links to different websites. You can have actual offline videos, so they don't need to be online to watch any of these videos. They take it with them, they take them home. We're always very sensitive to those students that don't have internet access at home. We have to make sure that the things that they're using that they take home, they don't need internet for. So the creation of the iBooks, although it's been very, very time consuming, has been very rewarding in the classroom. Having students actually read more because they have access. Students that are on a bus, for example, up to Brainerd for a football game or back can now actually read with their iPads on the way there and the way back, where previously lugging around a 30–40 pound backpack full of books wasn't really feasible. So it's something we're very excited about.
Both Tyler and my books are a little different than the entire social studies department, because Tyler's the only one right now that teaches economics and I teach all the psychology. The neatest part about this whole process is we have 4 MacBook Airs for 8 people. And the design was that we would collaborate and work on things. So Tyler's actually the author of the history books, whether it's Carl Schultes or Todd Hagen that submit work to him. He authors it with their work and their collaboration. So it's been another great tool. We think about, okay, what are we creating for the kids? But on the other hand, we've got staff constantly re-looking at their curriculum and going through it and collaborating with one another so that our classrooms are universal. That if you took American History 1 first term from Tyler and then I had you second term, it's the same course. We don't have discrepancies or differences between our teachers. Yeah, they have different styles of giving information, but that core literary source is definitely the same, and we're trying to keep in tune with the same assessments that go with that. One of the things that we're encouraging staff is other options, so that this isn't just a social studies model, are there options within your own department that you can create an iBook? So, when you're thinking about it, a lot of our books aren't your traditional books. Yeah, Tyler showed a great example of his economics book, and it can be an entire source. But a study guide, a short supplement, anything can be used. I've got a larger book that I use, my learning book, and a lot of the photos are my own that I've created. I don't know if some of you are around, but that top photo was an old Expedition Impact program that we offered here years ago. So I use my own photos of the kids. And this may be a traditional longer book setting, but would also be something to consider. Could I do this for just a pamphlet? So could a Spanish workbook be made, where traditionally we make books? Could a simple math supplement be made? Almost to the point that I've even said to myself, traditionally I do the prom website, and rather than taking bandwidth and constantly uploading and worrying about images, every kid that goes to prom this year will get an iBook of all the information they need. So something as simple as, how do I get this information to the kids? It doesn't have to be a traditional book, but it's an information guide where they can download any videos and any key information document, any other sources that they might need, one of the parts that I guess I've found exciting for us is that we can give them something and then they're the ones running with it. Yeah, I constantly still need to make sure I assess, have they read it? Do I have a short Edmodo quiz the next morning, or do I ask them some questions? I've got to make sure I'm checking on them. I can't just assume they're all going to read it anyways just because they have an iPad. That doesn't make kids just always want to read. But I'm finding more success in the kids taking the time to read, that it's also written to them. We had some other districts ask us, can we have your iBooks? And they're strictly written for Willmar Public Schools for their senior high school. Our examples are for our commons. Our examples are for our settings. So it's a nice flipped classroom. But this is an example of how there's a number of sources I wanted them to read that normally I'll make some copies and I'll say, here's some supplements, grab one if you want. Some of the things that we're talking about, concussions or Alzheimer's and memory loss, now I've just embedded them in my book and said, hey, I want you to pick at least one of your interest level, and we'll talk about them all, but have a little piece from each one of them. So again, how do we deliver the information, not just in social studies, but can we do this in another classroom setting? Finally, one of the pieces is how do you deliver it to the kids? There are a few choices at the high school right now. We're trying to keep things universal, but also looking at staff as far as their own strength. iTunes U is a free resource. I don't know if you ever get on iTunes U, but it's an incredible resource for kids to research videos, audios, documents. We actually create our own classes. So my kids enroll in my Psychology 2 class, and here's where all my books, all my documents, any announcements, reminding them over holiday break, I still want them to work on some things. That's all posted there. And again, the whole idea when we brought the iPads into the district was this isn't strictly a high school model. That we've set up a TLC at each building. We're working on getting more and more staff trained, that depending on what that building and their curriculum needs are, what do they want to do with the iPads in implementing them in the classroom, so that we're constantly enhancing all the kids in what they're doing, not just the high school. It just happens to be a little bit bigger right now with the iCardinal contributions. And it's been a great setup for us so far. Questions at all?
How is this, you mentioned a little bit earlier about the speed. With the addition of the sophomores, do we need to think about increasing?
You know, it's something, and it's a great question, something we haven't touched on. Part of the, and so make sure I don't skirt around that, Dan, for you, but part of the making sure that it's sustainable from iCardinal was they actually created part of their budget, a small portion of their budget, to fund Tyler, I, and Rob in the summer to work. So we set them up along with our IT department this summer. We'll do that again this next summer. And that's our time where we need to make sure we get all 300 ready and that we test them on the network, that we try them live on the network so we don't have those surprises. I'm going to guess, and being honest with you, that first week we may need to relook at it again. Yeah, we tested it, but now the kids are on it. The kids are not able to do any video downloading or audio streaming, so that it's not hogging the bandwidth. We're very smart about that. We've had some resources where staff might say, I would like this opened up, and we put in a request, and if administration and IT approves it, great. If not, then they're going to have to find another means to deliver that source.
I think also, as more and more staff members sort of delve into this thing that we're doing here, that in addition to the iPads will probably need to increase it a little bit, but it's not something you need to order and have delivered. It's you make the call and then it's upgraded.
And the Little Crow Network provides our bandwidth.
Right.
In the last meeting Linda and I were at, not even close
to fill.
Right.
to fill it. I mean,
Right.
not even.
Yep.
So it's theirs for us to grab.
Yeah.
I just met with
Or other
the
districts do.
right.
Right, exactly.
I met with the science department. We're in the preliminary stages of their curriculum buy, and as of right now, it looks like they're going to order one set of textbooks for one of their classes. All the rest of them are planning on going completely iBooks. So social studies is a little bit ahead of the game, but they're seeing the strength in it. Everybody is instantly recognizing how amazing it looks, but through the TLCs, they're also recognizing how doable it is. It looks way more difficult than it is. And the science department is ready, and they're already kind of building their teams. They want their computers before spring break, and they're talking about next fall already. They want to be able to get those iBooks ready for next fall. And what I'm finding is it leads to increased collaboration, but it also, your timeline of planning curriculum has completely changed when it comes to iBooks. All of the work, a greater percentage of the work is front end now. You can't wing it. It has to be done. It has to be ready. And once that initial summer spent intensively writing that, once the foundation is built for those iBooks, now you can just you can change it. You can grow. You're able to be nimble as standards change because your infrastructure is already built, and we own them. So that's where science is ready. Science is ready to spend this summer intensively working. So rather than the typical capital outlay expenditure, we're finding the money is now going to be transitioned to professional development, which, as an administrator, that's a great place to spend resources when your staff is excited about developing professionally. It's exciting.
Are we still short-handed with tech support or our tech department, or?
I can, we are in the process of, we've gotten through the interviews, we actually have offers out, and we have 4 of the 5 positions filled, just waiting for them to start based on their current jobs and different things. So we are in the process of getting that filled.
So I imagine, my understanding, I bet for Lyle and Tyler, you guys have had to help a lot of staff for.
Yeah, it's been busy, but just like anything, we all pull together and do what we need to do. It's just there really wasn't a choice. You know, it's just you roll with the punches, and that's education. So it's been good. We've got great leadership by Jason and Paul, and John Bouchard has been exceptional. We're actually just trying to get things ready so that when we do training that person, from our end, that it's kind of their own environment. We're redoing some things out at the high school because whoever comes in, we want them to feel like this is your position. We'll train you, we'll work with you, but it's a new start. So it's been fine so far.
And thanks for doing that, because it's kind of been my understanding you guys have really helped out a lot with.
And they touched on this a little bit, but we are to the point where we feel like district-wide, so we have trainers at the high school, and we have then staff that's trained in iPads. But now every building has their own trainers. So everybody can be self-sufficient. They don't have to rely on the high school team there. Each building can, independently sustain and then push the envelope for their needs and their kids' needs. And it's really healthy and helped out at the high school for us to be able to be independent.
I have kind of a community comment. From your communication, for your example, like prom, and I'm sure there's others that'll be great. I know our student handbook is that, but we also have it in PDF format, just to make sure that we don't assume parents have access to their student's iPad, and that we still have websites. I know prom is a community event, and if you don't have iBook access, don't familiar with, comfortable. We still need to have some kind of
We'll
web
still have basic
presence.
information.
Thank
All
you.
the downloads, I mean, if you've been to, like, prom, not to go into great detail, but they need a
Right.
form to tell where they went to dinner and stuff that only the kids would
And
need, but
prom is
traditional
just
things.
the example
Yep.
today, but there's lots of those that we can't become an iBook district on our website. We need to make sure that
Right.
our website is functional for community.
And that is the nice thing, when we create a text, we can actually export it as a PDF file, so even if you didn't have a pad, you can still see our resource. You wouldn't have the same links, of interactive links that the kids would, but you'd have the text and the source. And the iPad's pretty cool, because if those are distracting for a kid to see all the pictures and stuff, they actually can turn it sideways and just get the text view. So it's kind of built in for, hey, I really don't want all your pictures right now, I'd just like to read your text, or let me go back to the pictures and the videos. One thing that I'd like to close on, if that's all right, is right now we have a student at the high school, Preston Ash, that is building our iCardinal recognition wall. If you get a chance to come out in the next couple weeks, it'll probably be done here soon. But a beautiful wall, basically, again, thanking our community for participating with Willmar Public Schools and kind of that matching relationship. That's just been really cool, and it's just a nice, simple way that he's done it the entire term, working with John Wilson as a student assistant, building this wall. Comes down and asks Tyler and I some questions. Otherwise, we have not even touched that wall. But it's a very beautiful piece of woodwork at the high school, just again to say it's a great partnership that we've had going. So if you get a chance to stop out, great.
Just as a point of information, we started out 2 years ago with
6, yep, the first year.
6 iPads. we're at over 1,700 right now. So that's K through 12. These guys have done a wonderful job. They've put up with a lot of stuff. They've argued with me, continue to argue with me.
It's a good relationship.
But it's, and the iCardinals raised adequate funds, so we're going to be okay. There may be some of the stuff we'll have to purchase with general fund dollars, but it's still a great deal for the kids in our district. So, and thank you to
Our pleasure.
both of you. Any questions for?
When the tech department does get kind of back up to snuff, then some of the fixes could be done in-house rather than sending, or would we still send?
That would be a goal of the department to
That would
maybe
save a
do
little
that
bit.
again and train somebody in those types of functions.
Because it wouldn't cost as much then to fix it.
Correct.
This year.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd probably save $50 to $80 doing it ourselves. It's a little tedious process, something
Yeah.
we can train after we get kind of their feet wet, but
Sure.
It just keeps the money in with the kids
Yeah.
instead of leaking it out otherwise.
you know, and that's the same thing, when we look at cases, when we look at, like we're updating some apps for the kids, when we're looking at anything that we're gonna add dollars-wise, we're going right into their pocket from that tech fee. So that, again, we're reminding parents, you already gave once, you don't need to give again. This is a model that if we have someone that needs a scholarship, we've done that. They meet with our administration. So anybody that's needed something has not had to pay additional. We've always held true to that. The only other thing that we didn't talk about really quickly is we're looking at using some of those funds to have a seminar on cyberbullying, sexting, making sure that parents are invited, but also reminding the kids of what's out there, educating again, continually educating. So that's something else we might use that tech fee for, to bring in some speakers and to make sure we're just being proactive.
I had a parent ask me, would there ever be any consideration of actually having a parent boot camp on how to use the iPad for themselves? I mean, a lot of parents that are now thinking these are pretty neat
Yeah,
things to have, and maybe if I understand how to do it, I can figure out what my kids are doing.
Yeah, we actually did a boot camp, kind of a mini training, just as a short, quick thank you to the iCardinal group, offered that to anyone. On a side note, something we're doing separate on the district is for that. But locally, there'll be some courses offered that people will see, maybe some flyers here or there, but good. Just again, for anybody. And I had a session the other day with a former physician in our community, a retired physician, and just nice for someone to take a device and feel more comfortable about it. But we're seeing more and more people that are getting excited about it with the kids. We can't forget that for a lot of these families, this is the first piece of technology that they've ever had. And this is maybe another way where we can reach out that it is the kids, but the parents are able to use it for communication, for looking on campus photo and stuff, so.